This one concept will literally fix all chord changing issues that you may have. If you're new to playing chords, or if you've been playing chords for a long time, one issue that folks have is moving from one chord to the next. Now, if that's not you, if you don't have any issues with this, go to another video because this one's not for you. But if you do have issues with going from one chord to another chord, let me tell you the silver bullet that's absolutely going to help you understand this, okay? Now, it's kind of loosely based on something that I call IBM or the inventory breakdown method. Track with me here for just one moment. If we were crossing a river and say there were some stones on these rivers, wouldn't it be a good thing for us to observe the next rock that we're going to jump to make sure that we can get to it, to make sure that it's in the direction that we're going to be jumping, to make sure there's not slime on it, etc., right? Of course, you're shaking your head, yes. Okay, well, what we want to do is we want to think the same thing when it comes to our chords. It would not be advisable for us to jump in the air and then start looking for a rock that may be close enough, that doesn't have slime on it, and make sure that we're going to step on the right place, that we're at the right height and the right direction and all the rest. That would be kind of goofy. What happens oftentimes is when people are going from one chord to the next, they're not, number one, they don't know the next chord or they don't have it developed enough. So the fact is that they're going to a chord that they're just not that familiar with anyhow, familiar enough at least that they can grab the chord quickly, okay? So that's going to be part of this concept. But the other part of this is taking some sort of inventory in regards to their fingers, where their fingers are going to go, and really breaking this down into the minutiae, the specific parts, okay? This is the magic of all this. And if you don't do this, the chances of you just landing on that chord is not going to be very good. Here's why. A lot of people, when they're going from one chord to another, will just jump to that chord, and they'll do it over and over and over again, hoping that it's going to happen. Now, here's the problem. Anything that we do in repetition builds neural paths. This is how we get good at anything. If you do something over and over and over again, one specific way, you build a neural path, like walking across a meadow where you look behind you and you see where you just walked. If you walk that path again, it's beaten down twice, it's going to be stronger than the one time. If you do it 100 times, now all of a sudden you have a trail because you've walked that specific place all the time. But the other way is that people go this way and they go that way and they go that way, and they never truly build that neural path, and they always have issues with the changing of those chords. So what we need to do is get down to the nitty-gritty, which is looking at what's happening with our fingers so we can build that inventory breakdown method, if you will. So for instance, if I'm going from, let's say, a G chord to a C chord, one thing that I want to do is, at the very least, I want to observe what fingers are moving, what fingers are the same, what fingers don't need to move, etc. Because if you don't do this, you're going to be doing a lot more work and you're just going to be building bad habits. So for instance, if I'm going from a G chord to a C chord, something I might observe is these two fingers are the same, or at least the way that I'm playing this G chord. I could play it like this and then the fingers wouldn't be the same, but that's something to observe as well. But if I'm going, say, from a G chord to a C chord, an observation, which is half the battle, I'm using fingers 2 and 3 here, and that fingers 2 and 3 are coming down one string. That's part of it. And then I've got my first finger doing this, okay? That is the beginning of our neural path. In fact, it's the most important part, because if we never observe it, we never truly have any sort of protocol, any specific way to do it. So we're just going to randomly be grabbing chords and wondering why we suck at our chord transitions. So if we do this though, we observe it, and now the second part, the other half of this, is the practicing of it and getting it quicker. A lot of guitar teachers will say, just move all fingers all at once. Well, nothing is like that. Everything's built by steps. Sometimes the steps are so close together it will seem as if it's happening all at once, like if I move my hand from here to here. But realistically, I have several fingers. They're all hitting the strings at different times. even though it seems like they're hitting all at the same time. If we slowed it way down, we'd see that it's a step-by-step process. It's just happening very quickly. So that's how our brains work. Why wouldn't we do that for our brains, is teach it this way? If I'm going from the G chord to the C chord, I first observe, and then I practice a specific routine. So that's half the battle right there, moving these two fingers down one string and then adding my first finger. Okay, we're doing the observance of it, and then we go back to our transition, okay? Now, part of this is the whole crossing the river bit. We have to, first off, understand what's happening in the chord first. Using inventory breakdown method, this finger's doing that, or this finger's at this fret on this string, etc. It's held in this position. That's what I mean by that's the inventory, okay? But then observing what the movement is, that's yet something else. Then practicing it is yet something else. This is all part and parcel. But once we have the basic of whatever two chords we're working on, I don't suggest doing anything more than two chords at a time. We need to use hyperfocus in this. It's very important. I'm on one chord. I only need to think about that next chord and what its dynamics are. So boom, I do that. More than anything, instead of learning of the chord, what we're doing is we're building a protocol in our brain of how to access that next chord. And doing this is going to help with any two chord combinations, three chord combinations, and so on that you're going to be doing. We're at our C chord. Now we need to think about the G chord. Well, what's actually happening? Well, we're moving these two fingers back down one string, and this first finger's coming up, and our pinky's coming down. That's essentially the inventory. Here it is. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now this lesson is not how to go from a G chord to a C chord. It's for you to understand this concept. If this escapes you and you're like, I don't have time for that, you're going to continue to have problems with your chords. It's understanding this basic concept and then just applying it to two chords. Do this with two chords, and then once you get this down, you can do this with any other two chords that you're working with. Also, something else to do is don't strum. Just focus on the fretting hand and what's going on here. That will also help with your hyperfocus. You're going to strum this thing fine, and eventually you will strum it and you'll be playing it with songs and everything. But doing this is going to allow you to hyperfocus and really get to where you can play these chords very quickly. Again, two chords and two chords only, and then you have another two chords, do it with that. Leave your comments below, like and subscribe. I'm here for you, and I'm passionate about your success on the guitar. Please let me help you. I'm here for you. See you in the next video.